Yeah, I think the California minimum wage increase is obviously not the best situation for some businesses. I know that that could be a hardship depending on like how popular your business is, but
Yeah.
as far as my employees go, me and my management team and my regional have just been making it a huge emphasis and using that increase to increase our expectations as well.
That's fair.
So because like California being the only state that was enabled that increase is kind of unique, but also like we pay more money plus tips compared to other operations, and therefore yeah, we've just been like resetting expectations, letting people know like, hey, like now you get paid minimum wage to obviously live fairly in California, which is minimum here, but it's also just a more desirable job because now everyone's like, well, I can make $20 an hour at Dutch Bros and get tips and have fun and do all these other things. So
Right,
it's been really cool.
Do they get benefits out of curiosity, or is that not part of
California full time.
the? Okay, gotcha.
Can we talk about, is $20 a
Fair wage.
like enough to live off of? Do you guys believe that?
Do
it's enough?
we? So to ask your question with another question,
Yeah.
kind of to bring up two subjects, is $20 too high? Because sometimes people go to college to get a livable wage of $20 an hour in other states. Do you think it's also fair to do that where to America, USA, where somebody in Texas goes to college for 4 years and now I don't know the wages, so I'm just gonna guesstimate, say a nurse or somebody in some sort of hospital makes $21.98 an hour, just throwing out prices. Somebody in California who didn't have to go to college makes $1 and some change less than them.
Well, California is like one of the more expensive states. Go ahead, John. Take this one.
It's gonna be your
I got it when I have brain fog right now, guys.
No, it's okay. Yeah, I totally get where you're coming from. I mean, obviously, like inflation and California being so expensive, is this minimum wage going to benefit people? I don't know. I was having a discussion with someone, and they're like, "Yeah, now people who work minimum wage entry like jobs in the QSR business, QSR being quick service restaurants, make more than teachers who went to school to get their degree." What are your thoughts about that? That's kind of what you were alluding to, you know what I mean? But in other states, yeah, but that was like eye-opening because I don't really know how much teachers make per year, but I mean, if they're not considered like QSR and their wages, then they get affected by this increase. You know, now we have McDonald's workers, our part-time employees who, I mean, young kids making more than teachers.
Is this for everybody that's working? Is it just fast food or what is it?
It's just fast food services except Panera because what's our governor's name again? Newsom.
Governor Newsom.
Yeah. The person who owns of Panera's did some sort of donations or some sort of they have a connection. So I'm getting confused with Newsom and Newsom.
It's Newsom.
Newsom, thank you. Thinking about Newman as well. Yeah. He has some sort of relation with Panera, so he said any restaurant or any QSR, quick service, that has a bakery inside of it is not affected. So that's like kind of some favoritism towards there, and that's why I see a little bit of corruption in it. So
yeah, I think there was,
and that benefits the owners of Panera, correct?
Yeah, because they're
not paying out. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, because labor is like it's the highest expense that any business has is labor. Therefore, there was a lot of pushback. But I think there is some prerequisites that businesses like need to have in order to fall into that category to like a certain amount of stores or something of that nature.
Stores, I think?
Yeah, something like that. And so not everyone's affected by it. Which is like kudos for, smaller business. Cause like I grew up in a town full of mama and papa shops who probably would not be able to afford paying their entry level employees $20 an hour. But excited for the employee. But as far as like employers go, I can see how this would be a little bit of a devastation or a hardship.
Right.
But Now my question is like, what do you guys think about the teachers who go to school to get degrees and pay all this money now making less than somebody at like McDonald's? Or
I think it's unfair. So I understand what they're trying to do. Like I do understand. They want to make it more of a livable wage, but a lot of fast food restaurants, like McDonald's, Burger King, Starbucks, everything, like it was designed for like an entry level job, high schooler, somebody who needs an
Exactly.
extra
So
job.
it's like not like
Yeah.
not unless if you're in like management positions
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
where it could take off as a career. But I see like fast food more as like a stepping stone into the workforce, pretty
Yeah.
much.
And
And
entry
then
level job.
exactly.
Now it's like boom, here, $20 an hour, and that person might get in the mindset where it's comfortable at that, where they don't have to
Become
expand
stagnant.
out, and exactly, become stagnant. And for the teachers, it's like, because how would I feel if I went to 4 years of school,
Exactly. And
or
then
I
you
don't
have,
know how long it takes, but
you have your student loans that you have to pay off, and then yeah, I mean it is unfair because you're going through all that schooling, whereas this person is probably in high school or could be right out of high school and are have 20. Sorry, this just distracted me.
What's that?
It's on my finger.
What is that? Where'd you get that from?
But yeah, they could be getting right out of high school making that amount of money, whereas it took you 4 years to, or however long the schooling is to be a teacher, and you're making, well, what was it? I'm not too sure what the amount was.
20.
No, for like a teacher's wage right now.
Oh, I don't know.
I don't
That's
know how much
something we'd
that
have
is,
to Google.
But I've always been I've always thought teachers got paid more growing up because they're teaching the future America, but reality they get paid very like little, like barely like livable wages, I think.
Do you think they should get paid more?
That's tricky. Yes. But based off like a scorecard. Not like scorecard, like, but you know how some companies will promote you over time depending on
Performance?
performance.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know there's some teachers that are lazy. That I've seen videos of teachers that just pass out assignments and just do your work, and they don't really do any teaching. They're just there. But I know there's teachers who genuinely take care of the students. I feel like those teachers deserve that extra performance wage increase over time.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not saying like start off right off the bat. But I think that's with any job though.
Yeah.
With any job, you start off and then you have the opportunity to grow, whether it's management or if it's your longevity being at that company for X amount of months or years, you get that 35 cent increase or however much it is per company.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like I don't know. I just grew up always thinking like since teachers are teaching like the future of America, like I always thought they made bank. But as I got older, I found out like no, they sometimes our teachers are struggling. And I've always seen those memes about a teacher buying their class like a pizza party, like but they're buying that pizza out of their own pocket, and the school's not even paying for them. So I'm like, oh, that makes sense why Miss Jones only bought one large pizza for the class or something. But
yeah, interesting. Do you think if teachers did have like that incentive, because I really don't know how that really works, but do you think our people would be smarter these days? You know what I mean? A little bit more incentive, because I did experience some teachers that I was like, dude, I am so bored in here. You're not a really great teacher. But I had some teachers that I'm like, I'm
You
really
really learned from
thankful
them.
for learning from them.
Shout out Mr. Munoz.
Hey, Mr. Munoz.
Hey, yeah, that's your last name too.
Yeah.
I think that would open a new question is, do we think the schooling system is just in our kids actually learning? Because nobody taught us about taxes in school. No one taught us a lot about the things that we're actually learning that are functional skills on our daily basis. We learned that. I learned a lot of that stuff off YouTube or searching it up or asking my parents, So now the question is the school system.
Yeah, I have another question
Yeah.
too, because who pays the teachers? Is that
I think teachers are a
Is that
government job.
us?
Yeah,
It's
taxes.
us.
Yeah.
I think.
Okay.
Did you have what was it?
I said, I think our taxes help pay for teachers,
Yeah,
right?
pretty sure because they're government employees.
And it's like for
think. I
public
could be wrong.
schools, right? So
Public service, basically.
that's what I was thinking.
What's your next
Okay.
question after that? Or was that just a...
No, that was just a general question that I had.
Yeah.
But then again, okay, we want to pay teachers more. That raises our taxes, right?
Yeah.
So
But then
Essentially.
then that becomes political.
yeah, and then it gets into politics.
Where's our
And then it
money
gets into
going
politics.
to? We're not even paying for our own our own country, our own state, we're giving the money away. So then that opens a whole different kind of worms. Are we using our tax money wisely now?
No,
not at all.
we're not.
Not at all.
Wait, I have something to bring up really quick, and it's like a side note because we can jump back onto this topic. I've been getting into cars more, so I just found out 91, so I believe it's like Octane 91, whatever, is only, I believe it's only in California that we have that. And it's...
What is that? What is
so you know how
91?
there's different grades of gas?
Yeah.
So 91 is our... like a premium gas here in California.
Premium versus like the unlead.
Yeah, so and then there's 93 gas, which I'm like, what is 93? Because I was thinking about tuning my car, and like on the tunes it'll be like Octane 93, and I'm like, what? And so I kind of looked into it, and maybe I'm misquoting it or whatever, but yeah, Octane 93 is like everywhere else, but we have our own special gas, which is not even as good as like this 93 gas, and it's like. The way that they make it, it's not that they call it premium, but it's really not premium. And the way that they make it is taxed a lot higher than the other gas that they make. Yeah. So I kind of got into it. I didn't get way too into it, but that's kind of what I researched. I'm like, what the heck? Well, yeah. And I also heard that the mid-grade gas, so 89, is almost exactly the same as 91. So people are paying the extra, sometimes like 20, 30 cents to where it's not even going to really benefit the car in the long run because it's almost exactly the same.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I've always, gasoline is interesting, fuel in general, but I only say that's interesting because I've heard mixed opinions about diesel being so expensive compared to unleaded, since diesel's like roll your coal. That's where this thing comes from. I don't know if this is accurate, but it's cheaper to make because it's like more natural, I guess you would say, because it's coal,
right?
And then
last longer too.
Unleaded is synthetic fuel, right? So I've always wondered like if things are ever going to change where we see diesel become cheaper than unleaded, because right now I'm like, whew,
well, you know,
pretty penny.
And then I also today Googled, because gas right now is like $5 plus. Yeah, so I'm like, why is it? I Googled, why is gas so pricey right now? Back into politics, yeah. And I was reading this article, and it's like, oh yeah, in Mississippi, Texas, Missouri,
like
there's
Texas,
there's places under $3, and I'm like, okay, well, why is it here in California we're like $2 over that? And it had to do, with
democracy, bro.
Politics.
And that's why I think it's important to learn politics. Like, even just a little bit, you don't have to get into what side to go for. I mean, kind of, because your choice kind of directs what way we're going to go with inflation, where our taxes, are going to go to. So that's why I say it's important to get into politics, but some people take politics too far where they treat it like it's sports. Where they're like out there, like, they're going, if there was a Trump rally, I'd go to support. If it was local, I don't have to travel too far. Yeah, but some people make it their like everything. But politics are important because it affects your daily life. Gas, teachers being paid right, the wall, everything. Because again, that's all tax money.
Yeah, my thing too is like, inflation. It's like we increase minimum wage, but everything is increasing with it. So is this minimum wage increase really going to be effective?
Yeah,
because
probably not.
Minimum wage back then was like what, $9?
When you first got into the workforce, how much were you getting paid,
bro? Well, my first job was a waiter, so I was already getting a hit with a tax deduction because of tips. But so this is why I don't like tips as much, like that whole
You're
conversation.
Traumatized.
Probably because I found the system unfair. I was a host / waiter.
Yeah.
Anytime I made a sale under my name, this was back then before DoorDash.
Yeah.
People would do takeout, right? So they would put in a phone order. They'd call. I'd answer. Hi, blah 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 blah. Okay, I'll take down your order. I would have to open a tab under my name, my employee ID. So then they're saying, okay, Rob made a sale for $15 X amount thing. So he should be getting a tip, 4% tip based off that sale. So we're going to deduct already. But I'm doing a takeout order. Nobody's gonna tip somebody who's doing a takeout order because you're not being served.
Mm.
So I always got screwed at the end for not getting a tip, but I don't expect a tip. I don't expect tips in general, but like I was expected to get a tip from a takeout order.
Mm-hmm.
So my pay was always deducted to some certain extent for not
reporting them.
Yeah.
Or not doing. Yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
I get what you're saying.
Back then, to answer your question, it's funny that, probably is some sort of trauma, but I found the system unfair. Like, why is that affecting my pay?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. My thing too is because like I know that tip reporting is now becoming more encouraged in the business realm, and I should probably say closer to the mic. Tip reporting is now becoming more encouraged in QSR and in business, and one for taxes. I think it's our federal duty or federal. I wouldn't say requirement, but civil duty. Under the federal.
Honest civil duty.
Yeah, and the one thing that I learned is like, they do tax it, but in like when you're going for loans and stuff, it could benefit you, proving that you have a higher income than what you're actually being paid standard, right? So tips can be helpful in the sense that they could help you apply for bigger loans or be reported as part of your income, which is like super cool. But I did have a question for you because I thought of this the other day because when we were on the topic of tipping, yes, it's not a bad question, but okay. So, give you some context before I ask this question. Yeah. So I was going to InShape for the last couple of weeks and just kind of finding my space. And every day I would take this back road through Venetian bridges. Mm-hmm. So behind InShape March Lane, right? Because I didn't like all the traffic. Yeah. I would stop at this light, and there was this old homeless man there every single day that I was going home. And so I gave him some change, and I was like, cool, don't have much, whatever. And I'd see him every single day. And then that got me thinking of the tipping. And I thought of you because we had this discussion. Yeah. And this is open discussion, but
thinking about
shout out Harry. He's such a doll too, by the way. He's not there on Sundays. I already asked. But he's there Monday through Saturday.
He's on another. He got his other spot.
He has his rotation. Yeah. So just to get to the question is like, I know we discussed, your preference on not giving tips, right? Which that's not the case all the time. But do you give money to homeless people?
I've given some money, and I haven't done it. So yes, but I haven't done it a lot recently. The times I want to start a conversation. Mm-hmm. So I haven't ever given, so anybody who's on the corner and like I'm at a red light, if I have a toothbrush, because sometimes I'll carry closed products that I haven't opened, some toothbrush, some dude wipe, some sort of hygienic product, I'll give it to them. I've given a North Face windbreaker away, just like out of here, because it was during when all the storms were happening a couple months ago. Yeah, it was right at the corner of not the corner, the lumberjack light where you get to pull out and turn left to the freeway. Yeah, there was a guy right there, and it was gonna start raining like the next few days. So I was like, here, I got a windbreaker. So it's a form of giving, because again, it's always that thing where it's like, oh, you can give them money, but they'll go buy cigarettes, they'll go buy alcohol, like that. So if I'm going to give, I want to make sure it's doing something that I can make an impact on their life in a positive way, rather than possibly feeding an addiction of some sort. The other part back then, so that was recently where I'll give more product-based stuff. Back then when I gave money, I remember at gas stations, they would come up to me, and I used to have this little container just full of a bunch of pocket change. I would give it to them, about say, hey, what's your life story while I'm pumping gas? Talk back and forth here and there. I had a couple of rude ones like, oh, no, I'm okay. I'm like, oh, okay. Then I'll change away then. Yeah. Because, what can you give to me, if I'm giving to you? And I'm not looking for that strictly. And it's like, it's a human conversation. If you're going to ask me for change, at least have a conversation with me. Don't just, spit in my face after I'm trying to give you money. I was like, no, let me, okay, no, never mind. I don't got change. Yeah.
Yeah, so, I like that. And that also got me thinking, and this isn't like to boast at all, but when I lived in Oregon, we had fewer transients around, so the population was much smaller. But every time I seen a homeless person like holding up a sign, I literally stopped and would have a conversation with the individual, just to one, get their name, two, hear their story, because not everyone who's a transient or homeless, it's not their fault. some of the times. I mean, they make mistakes, of course,
we all
but
make mistakes.
yeah, absolutely. But there are some mistakes that obviously aren't forgiven by the government. You know what I mean? But that was a way of being intentional. If I not liked what they said, but if I could relate to what they said and I was like, oh, that's very authentic and I'm sorry, then I would feel more obligated to give them some money. But it was a cool little thing. And I actually saw some impact where I was like, wow, that's really cool. And it inspired other people who would see because I drove a big old white truck and I literally just like pull over on the side of the freeway or it's middle of the street and just to have these conversations with people, which was pretty sick.
We got to remember too that we're all human. And I feel like sometimes people forget that because I see, on the internet or wherever in like the city, they don't treat them like they're human. And I'm like, what are you guys doing? Like they're asking for help. You don't got to be rude to them, or like, I know some people that are like, hey, and go get a job, like go. And I'm like, well, dude, you don't know their story. Just keep it to yourself.
It's also hard to apply. Some of those people can't really afford hygienic stuff. They got overgrown hair, dirt on their face. You can't just walk into a restaurant and say, hey, I'm looking for a job. The first thing is, hey, we got to call the cops. There's a homeless person here. We got to kick him out. Like, bro, like.
We don't know their story, and it's hard. They could be going through hardship or whatever it is. But I just see stuff on the internet, and I've seen stuff in person too where people are just flat out rude to them, and that's wrong too.
That's the part too that frustrates me of like, again, back to a little bit of politics is all the tax money is like, dude, we could be using that to clean up the streets and not like kick out homeless people, but like take care of them mentally I know there's like homeless shelters and stuff like that, but there's so much more that you could go into and to increase somebody's life. You could hire a couple barbers, give everybody a fresh cut, clean, get a couple, portable showers set up, nice showers, a couple job interviews, stuff like that, but in mass amounts of doing it, then in that process, of course, you're going to find some homeless people who are addicts or may not, might need more mental care than actual physical care of, cleaning back up. And I've always thought about that, like being like a little kid, like, and I've never wanted to talk about this out loud because it seems people question it sometimes, but you know how like there's like those people who go out and record acts of kindness, all that great stuff like that. And the people will say, oh, why do you have to record it? Why do you have to do that? It's like, I understand that, but parts of me, like if I could financially do it, I would 100% do it on camera or off camera. First, again, financial. If I could financially do it, do that much of an impact, or even if it's one, I would 100% do it if I could. Financially, right now, I need to prioritize myself in order to take care of a stranger. If I could, I would, but I would love to go out there and, get a whole bunch of homeless people, get haircuts, get a shower, job applications left and right, mental health care. Cool. Let's go get you what type of health care you need and all that. Cause you don't know what's under all that dirt, all that hair. It could be another beautiful soul. They got lost. They made some mistakes. And the part about, I would want to document it cause it could be a series, cool to spread that light of, hey, if we could do it, you could do it. Cause nowadays, not poking at anybody who has money to spend, but there's a lot of people who just spend money carelessly. It's their money, they worked hard for it, but it's like I would want to encourage other people who are very wealthy, hey, if we could do it with this amount of money, how much can you do it with your amount of money? But then the comments come in, you guys are only doing it for views, like that, and that comes into negative things.
No trolls. And I think that's a good point. I think the intentions behind it, because sorry. Harry is cool, and I thought about it. I was like, yeah, I just want to record him. He's just a cool dude, but like maybe that will bring some traction and influence others to be like kind to people. Because I think the sad thing about our generation or humanity in general is that we would probably feel more upset or sad about a stray dog or a dog dying in a movie or a dog dying than we would a human.
It's actually facts. That's very true.
Like, why is that?
Just the way that
society
I think it also
is,
comes
or
into
what?
judgment, where a dog doesn't know what's going on, and so you could only feel bad for the dog. But versus a human, people will judge a human as like, well, you're homeless because you put your, they're so quick and just to judge right off the bat. That homeless person is doing this. They're an addict. But hey, you don't know what's under all that. It could be again a soft soul, somebody who's nice, but they're just in the wrong time of life right now.
Yeah.
Put that at home.
Yeah, there's just so many things I think about too. Because I mean, living in our city, we obviously have a pretty vast transient population. But like during the extreme weather conditions, you
Yeah,
know,
that
and
makes you kind of think like when it's pouring outside, where do they all go?
Off
yeah,
Wilson Way, bro, under all the bridges, there's like cities. Oh, I'm not
yeah,
sure if you guys ever been out there, but off
Really?
when you go off the freeway off of
there's
Wilson
a
Way,
bunch.
yeah,
Yeah, of
there's a lot.
not
Tents,
encampments.
Or
fires.
by the St. Mary's
Mm-hmm.
Diner
Yep.
out that way.
Yeah.
I know that there's just like a block of just
Yeah,
tents
tents and
and
everything. Yeah, it's
very-
devastating and it's
it is.
sad.
And then
It
it also
is.
doesn't help with again undocumented immigrants coming into the state, pouring into it. It's like we have our own American homeless problems, but all the undocumented civilians, like how many of those are going to have homes? That's going to put more, more
Yeah.
little homeless cities. I don't
Yeah.
know what to call them, but
Well, I think the one thing too that's kind of made me question my perspective a little bit is like having a kid. I know we talked about this on the previous pod, but like that's someone's child,
yeah.
you know, or like, yeah, it sparks so many questions of just like, what happened, dude?
Yeah.
Like, because if I seen, and I have seen some of my friends and even my own biological mother, you know, who was homeless, and at the end of the day, I couldn't help but feel like, what can I do to help them? But like trying to imagine like my own kid, which God is good, but I just look at him and like, dude, whose son is that, or whose daughter is that,
Whose
or
father is that even?
yeah, whose family member is this person, and like, do they see them? Do they like try to help out? Which I'm not speaking on everyone because I get things happen and we all make our own choices, and sometimes those individuals in those situations or predicaments don't make the best choices and maybe sever ties. But at the end of the day, I'm like, we're like Javi said, we're humanity, we're humans. It's weird. But yeah, it's just one thing I've just been thinking about a lot lately, and maybe it's because I feel just so grateful for the things that I have and the people that I have and good health. Like,
Right.
when's the last time you thanked the Lord for like good health or like good vision or good diet or
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, so not funny, but yeah, lately when I, see somebody on the side of the street and I can't, financially help them, I'll say like a little prayer for them because I'm like, well, God, I don't know their situation, and right now I don't have, something to help them out. So I pray that you help them out in whatever kind of way that you can. So that's what I usually do. But there's a guy that's right there off of Valley, and I noticed he's been coming pretty recent too. And he's pretty cool because he'll bring his guitar. And I'm like, I like
I know what
those
you're
guys.
talking about.
I
Yeah,
like the
I've
people
seen
that have like a
Some sort of service.
some sort of
or
yeah, and I'm
talent,
like,
yeah.
okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
Or like the guy that
Shadow-
is usually on like Marsh Lane, he's like balancing stuff on his head. I'm like, okay, yeah,
the
that's kind of
cart?
cool.
Or the
Yeah.
Chick-fil-A one. So whenever we want to go get Chick-fil-A, and he has to clean your windshield too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I remember
Like it's a
that.
service, it's a talent. It's not just hey, give me money, but it's like providing you some entertainment. Something.
Dude, I've honestly had individuals just help me clean the parking lot or do some things, I mean, because they're earning it, and although they're not in the best shape or interact with me the best because they're not fully conscientious, but it's still like something to them, you know what I mean? And I loved Harry because I haven't seen him because I've been going to Valley, but every single time I see him, I just try to make sure I have some sort of change on me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I've been trying to carry a little bit more cash so I can hand that out, but every single time I'm like, Harry, you always catch me at a bad time where I don't either have cash or I don't have my wallet, but I have like a few cents or like maybe 75 cents at that I keep in my cup holder. And he's like, dude, you know what? Don't even worry about it, brother. Anything and everything helps. But he's just so sweet. And every time it just wrecks me on the inside because I'm like, not everyone is crazy aggressive, incoherent, under the influence. Like some of these people are really kind. And I think sometimes we just, again, judging a book by its cover.
Exactly.
And I don't know. I just wish that sometimes the world was a little bit more open-minded and considerate,
I have an idea for that, and this could either make it into a podcast.
Yeah.
Or not. We'll see what time, or we'll talk about it more off podcast. Just an idea. It'd be cool. Again, this has to do something with what I thought about when I was little. If we can't do an entire, group of homeless people, maybe we could help out a couple get together, do something for them.
Mm-hmm.
Try to make that impact where it's like, start a GoFundMe, get a couple bucks, get my hair cut. I don't know how he looks like. I don't know if he's like, a little dirty here and there or overgrown hair, but get him some of that hygienic support. Maybe get him a job somewhere.
Yeah.
If we can't change the world, we could change his world.
Mm-hmm.
That way.
Yeah, absolutely.
I like that.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. And what's cool too is like I work a lot with the nonprofits in our city, and Stockton like has a ton of nonprofits. Like it's crazy sometimes when I'm looking through nonprofits to partner with or reach out to or volunteer at. But we have some of the stuff that you mentioned, which is super cool, but they're just small. You know what I mean? Like there's this, I forget what they're called, but they like provide, it's a mobile bus and they provide showers.
Oh.
Yeah, it's like mobile showers. And they like allow the homeless, like give them all the things that they need to take a shower, clean themselves up. And then I even know some barbers who go out ever so often and give free cuts downtown, near the St. Mary's Hall.
Yeah, the diner.
Yeah, the diner, and like give out free cuts. It's just, it's a small gesture, a small amount of time for the things that you're already good at and doing well at. Like if I'm a barber and I'm talented, like do God's work.
Let me take a day and just go out and help.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I just think there's just more exposure that needs to happen, and more exposure in a helpful manner than criticizing.
Right.
Because it's just, like you were saying, like we see them and it's more like, ugh, and maybe that's because a lot of them here are dysfunctional at some capacity. But there are those that I'm like, just take some time, dude, to help them out. Yeah. And they're sweet. They're sweethearts.
In a bad situation.
Mm-hmm. I used to have this guy in my hometown, Bob. Literally, his name was Bob. Big old dude. He looked like
bodybuilder.
No. He was a homeless dude, and he was kind of like, he gave me Bob Marley vibes, right? Okay. So that's why we called him Bob. And I think that was his real name, but he just he was like, I'm Bob. So, but he every single night would come by the shop, like not on some weirdo type stuff, but literally just check in on the people working the night shift and make sure they were okay. And we would just chop it up with him. He wouldn't ask for anything. He was just like, hey, just doing my nightly rotations and making sure everyone's okay. Mm-hmm. You know, and
brought him as security.
Yeah, I mean, it was just like cool.
That's funny that you say that, because at Popeyes, I started, my first job was at Popeyes. We had this guy named David. He was similar.
David.
His name is David, but he wasn't. He had like a speech impediment. Mm-hmm. And he would kind of rugged looking. His teeth all over the place, and he was a cool guy though. He would come in every time, and people would leave their trash on the tables, and he'd pick it up, and we couldn't really give him any money. So what we would do is, like, he would be there we would open and he'd come like almost an hour. So like around 10 o'clock, hang out there all day, like literally all day. And then when we close, he'll help us like throw out the trash. Hey, David, can you throw out the trash? Yeah. So we'll throw out the trash. So he literally got we're not supposed to do this, but we gave him free food. Mm-hmm. And we're like, here, David, here's like, chicken breast with
a couple biscuits.
Yeah, and he loved biscuits.
He better have a drink to wash down those biscuits.
Yeah, but he was the nicest guy. Didn't bother anybody. He'd just sit in his corner, let the time. Sometimes he'd fall asleep because he's there all day, and
he's human.
We would kind of take care of him. And at one point it got to where we even gave him, but we got in trouble for this. We gave him a Popeye shirt.
That's dope.
But we got in trouble because I think the area manager or something like that came in, and she's like, "What is he doing with the?" And then we ended up having to take it back, and then and I felt bad, but that I feel like I should go back to see if he's still there. I don't know if he is, but he was there, every day, and everybody that worked there knew him, and then sometimes we had regulars that would come in, and they would try to help him out.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So that story just reminded me of him, and I haven't thought about him in so long. It just reminded me of him.
Yeah. And that's another thing is like, why there's probably reasons, but like, why do they throw away all the food when they could just donate to homeless shelters?
Dude, we would throw away so much food. I'm like,
Yeah.
Yo, this is crazy. And sometimes we would have people that would come into the back, and we're supposed to throw it away. But sometimes there would be times where we'd give it to them. I understand why they don't do that, though, because then
It becomes a habit.
Yeah, so you give it to one person, then they're going to start coming every
And you have a
single
whole
time.
I know this
group
term
outside.
is like probably sounds so insulting and condescending, but feeding the stray cats.
Yeah,
Dude, I
thought about
was
that
thinking
too.
that.
Yeah.
I was literally
Not to
thinking
be
that. It's
mean,
like,
but that's I think a statement that everyone can relate to,
Yeah.
and I get it. But also, there's another nonprofit here, and shout out to them. We partnered with them this year, Bread of Life, and they kind of do something similar to that, where they go to like grocery stores and they get like food that isn't being used very often or about to expire, and they like hand it out to the community.
I need to start volunteering.
Yeah, it's pretty sick, dude. Honestly, there's so many options. There's just so many good nonprofit organizations here in Stockton that I've luckily just had the privilege of partnering with and learning a lot about what they do and contributing. But I'm like, man, like if more people were just involved, it would be so sick.
yeah.
And yeah, because some people do need help, and I think I have more of a sentiment and empathy for transients and poor people because I grew up that way. I was on the other side of the fence where I was homeless and in between homes. Like my nickname was the couch server. I got food from the mission. I got my clothes from the mission. Got all the hand-me-downs. You know, like literally just running the streets as a young kid.
Wow.
And I mean,
now.
yeah,
Like you sprouted into something beautiful, and let that be a sign of like, if John was in that situation, look what he came up to be now. And I see that in like all respect and like you know, like you become a great human being from the stories that he shared with us. You know, like we look at him like, dude, like you went through that, and then like,
Dude, there's
like you could have gone
like,
that way,
Yeah.
or the path of light. You went down the path of light.
Yeah.
So it's like, imagine how many more people that we could help. That could be another John.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think that's why, I'm a huge advocate for helping people when I can too, but not even about me. It's just more of like, yeah, what you're saying is like, you never know what the potential is if you don't try. And I just come from the other side where I tell people, I'm like, I'm a little ghetto. I grew up this way, didn't have much. And like, not used to having nice things. And my mom was, running the streets and she was homeless. And grew up in foster care, Exodus houses, people's houses, couches, sheds, garages. I mean, you name it. I was even homeless here for a little bit when I first moved here because I didn't know anybody and I was just stuck here. You know what I mean? Not stuck here. I chose to be here, but like I didn't have those connections.
Yeah.
And I've met, great families and like my brother now, who I consider my brother. But I think like when we just look at the book, like the cover of it, and don't dig too deep in it, we're never going to see what the potential is. And I mean, we're the first, we talked about judgment and people judging others and Christians judging others, but I just like wish that humanity would just be a little bit more kind and open-minded and considerate and dude, just help when you can, to be honest, because you never know when you're right, gonna have those other Jonathans where you see them flourish and change their lives around. And I think that's powerful. And I think so many people, like I have so many connections and so many great, who I would say family members who are just individuals who took the time to extend a helping hand to me. And I'm like forever grateful because I literally would not be in this position and I would have taken the other path because the other path was carved for me and I felt like I was stuck there. But, like shout out to my family, my loved ones, and the people who just really assisted me along the way. And yeah, that's why I've just been thinking so much about like what I'm grateful for and like other things, obviously, like transients and what people are suffering from. But yeah.
And that's like the small scale stuff too, about like the people who helped you out. They didn't have all the money in the world, but they definitely, by just helping you out in any way they could, whether if it was spending the night at their house for one night, that made an impact on your life, and that didn't cost anything too. And then also just the levels of it, like Elon Musk, like the stuff he's doing with the NeuroLink, like to help people who are disabled, who can't move and all that. Like that's another great act of like cause of somebody who has that money, who's doing good with that money. And there's always theories about NeuroLink and all that, but at the end of the day, that's what his goal is to help anybody who's disabled. to help improve that, whether if it's with, I think even with dementia and stuff like that, where it could help with memory loss, where it reconnects the brain cells that deteriorated over time that actually causes dementia. And that's another way of just like more people in the world that would go down that path with no money to some money to all the money.
No, absolutely. Yeah. It's crazy, but it's also just something that I think is a good reminder to people too, is like, dude, just remind yourself of the privilege that you currently have. And it doesn't have to be like all the money in the world. It doesn't have to be driving the nicest car. It doesn't have to be the richest person in the room. But like, dude, good health, a good roof on your head, good connections with your people, a good family, a good meal at night, warm clothes, a good bed. Like, dude, some of these things I've just been thinking about, and I'm just like, wow, I could have none of these things, or not one of these things, because I see so many people struggle in like our city alone, and I'm like, I'm just so grateful. Yeah, and like, man, I don't know what it's been, but like just driving, sometimes I'm just thinking about the things that I'm just like thankful for, and I pray about it too. I'm just like, gosh, like I'm just yeah, I can't even express how grateful I am about those things.
To bring up two subjects because they're very opposite. One is still I want to talk about Popeye's processed food, and then since I brought like the NeuroLink, talking about theories, I saw something. I forgot if it was a TikTok or a reel, but they're saying that people, again, this is Elon's. I'm stuttering a lot today. I don't know why.
The Lulu hard weeks. Hard weeks.
Musk has good intentions for the NeuroLink, but people are saying is like you could technically, because it's connected to the brain, in the future
We can hack them.
But like gel time doesn't have to be physical anymore. You could program the brain where it feels like you're asleep or in a dream for a year.
Paralyzed people?
Like something like that.
Wow.
Some sort of justice
I didn't
system
even think
where
about that.
you're not locked up in prison, but they send you to a room, and in that room, you're only 1 minute in that room, like IRL, like in real life. You're just in a room. But in your brain, you're there for 5 years.
Yeah.
Wow, that's insane.
That would be
interesting.
That would be. I think that's
like almost
possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, on the topic of that too, because I think that's pretty crazy if they could do that. Because I wanted to bring this up earlier about prisons, since we've mentioned that term, right? Prisons.
Yeah.
Do you think that there's a similarity between elementary schools and prison?
Yeah, 1,000%.
Like, are we training our kids to prepare for prison? That's one of the conspiracies that I've heard. They're like, we're preparing our kids for prison.
Like to go to prison or have a prison mindset where you're stuck in one area doing the same thing over and over.
Assembly
and over.
lines, they go to, they listen to a bell. They have an instructor. They get free time when we give them free time. If they don't behave, we take away their free time. We give them detention. We're trying
but
to
when
teach them things.
when you're younger though, you want to kind of structure and I guess somewhat discipline. So I get where you're going with that, but at the same time, we also need to teach them, which it could also be taught at home.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're in school, how are you going to control? You have now it's like 30 students that you have to. Yeah. So you have to come up with like a somewhat of a structure to get them. Okay, everybody's going to stand in line here. Or when I say this, everybody, says something back, and then I have all your attention, and then we're going to start teaching.
Mm-hmm.
So. Yeah, that is pretty interesting. I get where you're going with though.
Yeah, interesting comparison. But it's like that is a side topic, but since we were talking about it, I was like, yeah, like I get it. There's a lot of similarities to the way that prison operates compared to how school operates, and
even like the school lunch and everything.
Yeah, it was more of like a.
But I mean, how else would you structure school?
Exactly, then? Like college? No, trade schools. I mean, I'd rather schools be like trade schools.
So. But how are you gonna be in like
yes. No.
You go into a trade school knowing what you want to do. I feel like when there has to be like a certain age, I guess, to be like, because when I'm like 10 years old, I don't know what I want to do.
Nobody wants to know. You're like
I think when I was like 8 years old, I wanted to be an astronaut.
I want to be a detective.
Yeah, so it's like
tough.
Yeah, and I didn't even know out of high school what I wanted to do exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I don't know. I don't know where like the cutoff would be. Like, okay, you could jump into a trade school at this age, you know?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's definitely a huge topic. But yeah, I just thought it was
Yeah.
unique because we were just talking about it. And I
About
was like,
prison and stuff like that.
prison versus
Then
school.
again, that's always like another, I don't say theory because this is a little bit more evidence based that it's occurring. Not even just prison, but when you have your kids show up to school every day, you're also training them just to follow a routine every day. I mean, everybody has their own routine, but maybe the word routine is not the right choice because people are going to say, well, of course everybody has a routine. You wake up, you go to work, but you program kids every day to go to school to show up at this time, you have lunch at this time, break at this time, you follow this instruction. What's different from the workforce?
Mm-hmm.
Versus if you're a small business, that's something that we're dabbling with now.
Right.
Well,
Entrepreneurship, but you are in a way, and again, that is the world structure where you show up at one time at this location. School, you show up, at school, you show up to work at that time. Your lunch is at that time. It's scheduled. You follow instructions from that one instructor, your manager, your teacher, however it is. And it comes to lunch, whether if it's served to you, you bring your own lunch. Same thing with school.
That almost goes with the parents though, because it's on like the parents to bring them to school.
yeah,
It's not really about. I
Or the
guess
bus,
it's on
'cause
the
I took
kid.
the bus.
Oh, see, yeah, that's another.
I walked.
Yeah. So I
Walked
guess
to school.
yeah, but for me it was my parents.
Yeah.
But it was on me to get up on.
Yeah.
They weren't gonna wake me up.
Bro, the times I fell asleep and I slept in and my mom's there because so it was when I was in middle school I would have to take the bus, but in high school there was no buses around my area. Well, remember when we talked about Lincoln? How we had it?
Oh yeah.
yeah. So my mom had to take me to school. So there was a few times where I would wake up when we were supposed to be walking out the door. One time she didn't even take me to school because she would have been late to work.
Oh yeah, I would have left. But is freedom free then?
Yeah.
Is living like what? What is living then?
I think living is finding your true purpose of what makes you happy.
Yeah, but you know how sad it is that everything you just said is how people live their entire lives. Like
It's all
crazy.
kinda structured.
Dude, literally rinse and it's on repeat.
That's why I like entrepreneurship. It's really
Yeah.
up to you
Freedom.
to determine where you're gonna go. However much effort you put into what you're building is going to be your own result on what's going to
Effort. It's effort based.
And I think that's over time I've been studying myself because I've dabbled with so many small businesses. There's so many little ideas, whether if it was Twitch, if it's the podcast, or if it's shirts, or if it's other little businesses that I've done on the side. I've always just been so hardcore and this needs to be successful because I don't want to be where I was where I just quit my good job because I had a great job.
Yeah.
I quit it and I was like, I don't want to go back to that. Not like out of pride, but like I don't want to live that life. I want to live my own little free life where I could put in a lot of work and get a lot out of it. Or if I realize I take a vacation for a month, okay, I'm not going to expect to make some sort of, I don't say money back, but some sort of effort back because I believe in what you put in is going to pay back to you.
Yeah.
Like the effort you put in is going to pay
Kind of
back
like
to you.
a karma.
Yeah. In a way.
Okay, cool.
It's watering a tree.
Yeah.
Plant.
Yeah.
Fruit tree. You water it, you take care of it, it's going to blossom into something much more beautiful.
Yeah. My thing too is like, I don't know. I've always encouraged people to like, dude, just pursue your happiness, like your passion. Like literally what makes you so passionate that you have a hard time not thinking about it? Absolutely. Because at the end of the day, I don't want to look back 40 years from now and be like, dude, I just worked and wasted so much time. And I've also been in this mindset of not only thinking about the things that I'm appreciative of or feeling this gratitude, but like the world's so big and there's so much that I want to do. And I don't I pray that I have enough life to live to do these things. But I just I don't know. Sometimes I feel bad for people who are like, this is all I did my whole life. Dude. I'm like, why? Why?
Yeah. And that's why.
Don't chase the bag unless you're happy doing it.
Salary is a drug. I knew some people back at Amazon, and no shade to anybody, but some people would worship their job. And there's a difference, there's a difference of work-life balance. I had a great work-life balance. I was one of the ones who could knock out all their work and go home at a decent time, great time. But there was some people who would purposely stay there because I need to do this for this and this. Like, bro, don't
it's
you?
like it's like the money. They see the money and it gets in their head and that's what they're chasing.
Yeah.
But then
because they want that next injection of promotion for more money.
And I see that a lot at my work because like when work is there, you're gonna take it, and it's like you just see money signs. You see money signs, and I'm like, dang, yeah, you're making money, but at the end of the day, it's like, okay, you're gonna be put in a higher tax bracket. You're gonna like, what is it really doing for you? You're, not spending time with your kids. You're away from your wife, and you're just out here making the money. Yeah, but
At what cost?
At what cost? Yeah.
Yeah. And that's one thing too, is like tough because finances are important, but like again, like what you're saying, like priorities, dude. Like, is the money really worth what you're losing?
You really
Like,
just gotta find a balance at the end of the day.
And
yeah.
then people will. So then, I guess to get a little biblical, then people will worship it.
Yeah.
People will worship money in their lifetime, and then
Well, I mean, sorry not to cut you
No, you're
off, but
fine,
I
though.
think this is important too, because like, worship it, but in addition to that, they identify themselves through what they do, and that's
or what they
something.
buy.
Yeah, like it's material things, or again, occupational things, and that's one thing too. That again, like shout out Isaiah, my son's mom. She would always just check me and be like, "Hey, just make sure you remember that you're great for who you are, not what you do." And that was something that always just like I still like I haven't given her a lot of praise about that
Hopefully she
recently,
watches the podcast.
but she does know I'm grateful for it. But yeah, I've always had to, well, and especially now, remember and reflect like, hey, I'm who I am because of who I am and not because what I do. Because growing up, it was like I had to be the football star. I had to work hard. I had to be the Dutch bro. I had to be the most athletic. I had to be this and that and that. I'm like, yeah, but that's so draining because it's not even for me. And I'm great as I am without all those things. And I think people tend to lose sight of that when they're just like all about the money, or I have this position, or I'm this and I can do this. It's like, yeah, but dude, like, who are you?
People lose themselves trying to chase the bag when they come to worshiping money, because they spend all their time working away, and then they never develop that personality. They never develop time for their children, because you always hear it in like a lot people who there's low income, the middle class, is it high class?
I would break it in there.
The wealthiest people out in America who run businesses and everything like that, you hear stories where like families fall apart because they're so invested into their own job, and
I hear that a lot.
there's divorces, there's cheating, there's affairs. You haven't seen the kids in X amount of weeks. You're always at work, and that's when I think people who worship that money end up falling into that, because they don't know how to live their life anymore. They got so addicted to their numbers of their income going up and up and up, and feeding it into their new lifestyles, because now they have to pay for the new Lambo. Now they have to pay for that high dinner bill, and now like they're creating this new lifestyle that's just becoming more of a need for that bigger bag the next time. Yeah. And that causes destruction. And then the Bible says don't worship money because of X, Y, and Z. But yeah, that's for people to learn as time.
Yeah, well, I think that again, like, I know we talked about India, but in the past podcast,
That was our first.
But again, like, I think the one thing, or it's not even one thing, because I obtained so many great values from that culture and the people that I interacted with. But like, dude, the less you have, the more you have, kind of thing. Because I do think that we get caught up in, okay, what's next? Do I have the newest this, or do I have this house, or this, whatever. But yeah, dude, I just been, again, just trying to appreciate the little things, because over there it was like they had nothing, but they gave us everything that they had, because they were just those kind of people.
So happy as well.
Oh God, they were so happy, so
And had so much
considerate, so
less than us.
hospitable. Yeah, for having less, they give us everything.
So
You know what I mean?
I guess that brings up the question, like, growing up, or did we grow up privileged? Do you think we grew up privileged?
I did not. I didn't.
No.
But
I can speak on that. Like,
okay, but I guess it goes to because compared to the people that grew up in India, do you feel like it was like almost similar, or
dude, honestly, yeah.
okay.
I wouldn't say in a way, because I know they have their own extreme circumstances, but I abbreviate a lot of the things I say, and I don't share a lot of details. But
right.
my childhood was pretty tough, and like we've gotten some comments on some of our videos where people from my hometown or knew me growing up were like, dude, it's just so good to see that you made it.
Right.
And to me, I'm like, if this is making it, like, I'm happy with that, because of like how far I've come from the bottom of the barrel to the position that I have. And I would say it was bad, dude, honestly. And maybe we'll talk about it here on the pod one day. But as far as like even like the technical version of privilege goes, like I was way below the scale in comparing it to, you know, some of these other countries where they don't have as many resources. I would say it really depends because I mean, again, we're comparing like poverty in America versus poverty in like
somewhere
another
else.
country. You know what I mean? So, I mean, in that comparison, I would say, yeah, dude, I feel like we're very privileged
Would
in
you
America.
say that the poverty that we face in America is the wealth that we face in third world countries?
Dude, you see the videos of like people in India with like a missing limb and they're still working. Like there's no excuse over there. And that's one thing too that like broke me and was a culture shock. Wasn't only like how hospitable and generous, you know, these less fortunate individuals were, but like the individuals that had no limbs or like were partially paralyzed or quadriplegic,
They're out there working.
dude, they were grinding.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I was overwhelmed by how many homeless individuals were there, but like they literally were, oh dude, it was so insane. And that made me look at our transient population real differently because I'm like, what is your excuse? Because you see these videos and I've seen so many individuals that I was like, the only thing that I could do was just pray because I was like, I was feeling overwhelmed in my as a human by how many individuals I just couldn't save. Like I couldn't do anything. It was just there. Like it was very overwhelming. But yes, to answer your question, you know, comparing our transients here and homeless population here compared to other countries, and I use India as that example because I experienced that firsthand, I would say that there's no excuse why our people couldn't do better.
Very much so, especially when you see so much youth in them. And I don't want to judge, but sometimes whenever you see a homeless person, they're like, bro, like you're my age, maybe like younger, like
I've seen that before.
and I'm trying to answer my own questions, like why are you there? You know, there's a deeper story. You know, not just randomly somebody just shows up there, but there's a whole story. But like, what puts you in that spot where you know, and their face isn't even that all that dirty. It's like they still look like they just maybe got off a shift. And that's it. But they're out there like asking like, what is your story? Why are you there? You know, is it just being lazy? And I think that's people's always first assumption is like, are you just being lazy and you don't want to work and you're just trying to scavenge what change you can get? But again, that's for us to find out by having those beautiful conversations. And that's why every time I gave any sort of money away back then, I was like, hey, tell me your life story if you can. And then I'd be pumping gas there for a while talking to them.
Yeah. Yeah, that is sad, dude. And the homeless population or the youth homeless population in Stockton in general is pretty vast as well. It's grown a lot. And I agree with you. It's like, dude, what happened?
And then inflation doesn't help either.
Yeah, it's just really tough. And yeah, I mean, I just wish people would actually take action. I do think laziness is a part of it as well. Like there's so many people that I know that are like in their 20 or 21 that don't have their license or like don't even have a job. And these are like people's siblings that I know too. I'm like, what do they do? I'm like, what do they do?
You can't drive.
Yeah, what do you mean you don't have a job? I mean, I get parents. I mean, I think this would be a cool topic for a future, but like, do parents nowadays really baby their children to the point where they are ruining their lives?
We can have that conversation right now if we want. Both you guys immediately.
I know Javi has to get up.
Oh, that's right.
At 3.
Yeah.
It's really 9:30.
Yeah. We'll save that conversation for a future podcast. But
yeah, that one, and then if it goes along the lines of like, is the
Gen Zs. Let's talk about.
Yeah, well,
Gen
it's like,
no, just kidding.
because I'm kind of in this situation right now. Like the way that the economy is and the way that inflation is moving, you know, can we really do it on our own?
Yeah.
Because you almost have to be making
bank to have your own.
I
really
make
good
bank and
amount
it's
of money
expensive.
to get your own place.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a
So-
good one. Cool.
Yeah.
Any
we can-
announcements?
Yeah, let's get into announcements. Well, announcements. Okay. FiveGuys.com. Check it out. We have. That's our, FiveGuys.com.
That's
right
me.
there. That's me. We have shirts for sale. I believe they're $33 3,
Mhm.
$33.99.
Oh,
From sizes small to double XL.
Yes.
Double
Yeah.
XL?
Double XL. Small, medium, large, extra large,
Mm-hmm.
and double XL.
And we should be having like a little video coming out, like a little short.
Probably next 2 days.
Right.
Day.
Kind of explaining the quality of them and, you know, what the shirt means to us and whatnot. And yeah, tune into that website. I don't know, type in that website on your computers or phones. You can access it on any mobile device. So, we appreciate the support that we have so far.
Mhm.
And, yeah.
Yeah, I
Take it
think
away,
one
John.
thing to add is, we have a deadline. We're trying to sell these shirts by the end of this month. So we have 25 left. And if we do it, Rob is doing the one chip challenge.
It is April 11th, by the way. So we have by the end of the month. One chip is top left corner over there.
Oh,
Oh,
Guys, try to
okay.
find it.
I'm like, where'd it go?
I'm not doing the one chip challenge. We're gonna have a vote or spin the wheel or something like that.
nah, he's
We
going
have
to
an
do it.
engagement.
We should do both.
We should
Or-
just chop it up in 3 pieces and all take one, or just buy 2 more. We all do one.
I don't know if I could do a whole one.
I think I
I'm
might
not
throw
good
up.
with spicy.
If anybody made it this far into the video, let us know what to do, and we'll do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If that one person
leave
leaves
it
a
leave
comment,
it down in the comments. Leave it
yeah,
down in the
if,
comments.
if one person made it this far into the video, leave it down in the comments. Does one person do it, or do all 3 of us do it?
And you can go ahead and give us a topic. We'll definitely talk about it in the next pod.
Maybe if you vote on it and want to do it with us, we could FaceTime you in and we could all do it together. That'd be sick. We'll ship you one. I'll order you one on Amazon or wherever you get them.
Yo, and when are we gonna start getting guests?
We'll see.
Got a lot of people.
Talk about that off real quick.
Yep. We love you guys. Thank you so
All right, guys.
much.
Thanks for
Javi has to
tuning
go
in.
night-night.
Yeah,
Buenos
I
noches.
may or may not have a 3 a.m. shift tonight. So we'll catch y'all on the next one.